to a special edition of Dissecting the Pitch where Gareth, Kwok, and myself, Edwin, Perez, will talk about everything in the soccer world. How's it going, Gareth?
I'm doing good, Mr. Edwin Perez. How about you, Mr. Edwin Perez?
Amazing. Excited that I get to talk about soccer with you. You know, it's my favorite sport, so let's dissect the pitch.
Of course, and I mean, none other than the Champions League. The first leg just wrapped up this past week. And let's just take a breakdown. Let's get our takeaways from the first leg of this round of 16. Let's start with Roma versus Porto. Roma won this game 2-1 on Tuesday, February 12th. First off, your quick prediction, or your not prediction, but takeaway.
I think my biggest takeaway is Roma showed up, and that's a big thing because I think Roma was the heavy favorite heading into the first leg, and they showed up, and that's my big takeaway. What do you take away from this matchup?
I think you're right that they showed up. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the most convincing victory, 2-1. That's obviously, you want to get ahead, but Porto did get that important away goal. That's going to be huge for them as they go back to their home stadium, and so I think, all in all, it's a good win for Roma. Good job by Zaniolo. He got the 2 goals. But again, I don't think it was the convincing victory that they were looking for.
It was not very convincing, but I mean, when you look at it, they doubled Porto's shots. So they did the job they needed to. So praise for Roma, and they look like they will finish out that leg and look like they'll move on to the next round. But let's head into our next matchup, which is Man United versus PSG. Matchup that had a lot of praise, and it's a big matchup, but it turned out to be a boring one. Talk to me about it, Gareth.
Yeah, I know. I think you and I, this was one of their matchups. We both had differing picks. I had Manchester United, but I was totally, I wouldn't say shocked, but I was a little bit surprised. I think this was definitely a reality check for them, how PSG, a dominant team, they totally took over this game. Mbappe was huge without Neymar and Cavani. So again, they did what they do again in the Champions League. So I'm honestly not surprised.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is PSG showed their power, and they had to do it without Neymar Jr., and which is one of their main stars. And they showed up. They got to 2 goals through their youngster Mbappe and also Kimpembe. They got their job done against I think one of the most powerful sides of the Champions League. And I mean, it wasn't like a very convincing win. Well, like, yes, 2 goals is convincing, but I think they could have done more. But obviously, they're up 2-0, so I think they're looking good for the next matchup, and I think they'll see themselves
without a doubt, they're looking good. No Pogba in the next leg. Manchester United in a lot of trouble for that one. Next game, Tottenham taking the 3-0 victory over Borussia Dortmund. This one shocked me. How about you?
I think this was the most shocking for all the soccer fans. Maybe the Barcelona, which we'll talk about a little more later, but I think this is the most shocking because they didn't have Harry Kane. They have Dele Alli, but they got their work done through Son. And I mean, if you look at the shots and you look at the possession, they dominated that matchup, which is a matchup that Dortmund needed to win, especially without their stars. This is a matchup Dortmund should have won and should have showed up and gotten something, but they lost 3-0.
Yeah, I think Heung-min Son, he's just totally making his case. I mean, he's totally making his case for, or I know it's Premier League, but Premier League Player of the Year. He's continuing his play in the Champions League, and this really shocked me. Dortmund's defense did not look good at all in that game for sure. But
I think it's just a depressing showing for Dortmund, and I think they need to show up. But I think the lead's too big for them to come back. So I think so Tottenham will see that out. But now we got Real Madrid versus Ajax, another matchup that we differentiated. You picked Ajax, and I picked Real Madrid. 2-1 matchup. How did you see this matchup?
I thought Ajax didn't even play that badly at first. They scored a goal, but then they got called off due to VAR. It was questionable, sort of a judgment call. But overall, even though Real Madrid does have that 2-1 lead, that's going to be big for them heading back home to the Bernabeu. Overall, Ajax didn't play that badly, but they're in the hole against the reigning champs. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's all about the experience in Champions League, and I think that showed up right there. I mean, this is why Real Madrid won 3 Champions League in the previous years, is because they show up when they need to, even without their big star Ronaldo, who's now in Juventus. And nothing against Ajax. They're a young team. I mean, they showed up. It's a 1-2 matchup. That's not bad. They can get back in it. But I think Real Madrid's experience and just their overall stars are going to push them forward into the next rounds as we head into the next matchup of Lyon versus Barcelona, and it was a 0-0 tie. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I that was the one that also really, I think, surprised me as well. Barcelona, a 0-0 draw in this one. But if you look at these stats, Barcelona 25 shots, Leon had 5, and I mean they dominated possession, 64% possession to compare to Leon's 36%. Even though it is a draw, they're coming back to the new camp, and I think they should be in good shape. Being back at home, they should be able to put up more goals.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. They're in great shape, but I think it's disappointing to Barcelona. You got 25 shots and you're not able to get a goal through your star powers like Suarez, Messi, Coutinho. I think that's a sad display for Barcelona. But again, they're Barcelona. They got the stars that they have. I mean, I think they're gonna challenge for the treble this year. So I mean, big ups for Barcelona. At least not giving up a goal. So it's 0-0. I think they will see this matchup through, but they need to show up next time better. And this is, I think, the most marquee matchup of the whole Champions League round of 16. Yeah. It's Liverpool-Bayern, who also had a 0-0 draw in the first leg. Talk to me a little bit about it.
Yeah, I think this one is a bit tough to predict for this next leg because both teams, I thought they played very evenly. Both were very high pressure, aggressive. Both were able to it was kind of, stingy play at times. But I think going back to Munich for the second leg, it's hard to predict because both of these teams are just very even. And I truthfully don't know who's going to come out on top. I didn't really get any clear answers from this one.
I would have to agree completely. And I think the biggest factor in the game when I look at it is the shots on target. Liverpool only put up 2 and Bayern 0. You have to test the keeper out more if you want to get that goal. And I think that's sad for both teams, especially for Liverpool, who's a really attacking-heavy team who needs to get those goals if they want to beat Bayern. So I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think the second leg's going to even be better now that both teams are drawn. So I'm excited to see the next matchup that they both get.
But here is another matchup that really surprised me. Atletico Madrid won 2-0 over Juventus Wednesday on February 20th. That one, truthfully, really did surprise me. How about you?
I think it surprised me, especially because you have Ronaldo, the second best player in the world. I mean, you're set up to try to win the Champions League, and you lose 2-0, and the goals are through Jimenez and Godin, not Griezmann. So I think that's a shocking factor. They both had an even amount of shots, and possession favored Juventus too, but Atletico Madrid did what they needed and got that 2-0 win.
Yeah, I don't know. Heading back to Juventus, I think Juventus will. This is kind of like Atletico with the first blow, and definitely Juventus was not expecting this. I think they might be able to come back in this one, but again, it's what we're gonna have to see because they definitely they took the first blow for sure.
It's going to be a really good second match. I think my bold prediction will be Juventus gets back in it. I think Juventus will pull out the win in Juventus. I think it'll head to extra time, but that's just me. I don't know if you see the same way.
Oh, perhaps. I think the second leg, even though Atletico's up 2-0, I still think that's not the best lead to have in that one. But again, that should still give you some confidence heading into that second leg with a lead like that. But you can never underestimate Cristiano Ronaldo and that Juventus team that is star-studded with talent.
Exactly. And now what turned out to be a goal fist, which no one expected, it was Man City versus Schalke. Man City got the 3-2 win. And I mean, the big storyline is the red card to Otamendi. They are up one goal. How do you see Man City in this matchup?
I thought this was a bit of an outlier game for Schalke. Like, they scored their 2 goals off 2 penalties. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen again. And as far as Man City, they showed what they can do when they are faced with trouble. Raheem Sterling, game winner. So I think they should be fine heading back to the Etihad next week.
Yeah, I think exactly what you said is perfect. I mean, yes, it's 3-2. It's a way that Schalke got 2 goals that I don't think they deserved in the sense where it's 2 penalties. It's not like goals that they created. It's 2 penalties. So I think at the end of the day, Man City looks good. I think heading into the next matchup, they'll be fine. I mean, they got their main strikers going with Leroy Sané, Aguero, and Sterling getting the goals. So Man City set up perfectly. And I think I'm excited to watch this one, especially with all the goals that they got.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think this next leg of play is Champions League. It's just going to be incredibly exciting. I mean, I think for me, Liverpool-Bayern, that one is going to be exciting. I still think Atletico Madrid-Juventus, that one is going to be another one to watch. But for the rest, I don't know.
Yeah, it will be some exciting, but thanks for tuning in. This was Dissecting the Pitch with Gareth, Kwok, and myself, Edwin, Perez, and we always do this podcast through Blaze Radio. So always tune in, and we'll give you more soccer action. Thank you.
Thank you.